Hello students, welcome to Biodigest. Let us just see the structure of the eye. So this is the structure of the eyeball. The entire front part of the eye is having a thin membrane. That is what is known as conjunctiva. I will use the same colored pen so that you can understand better. Okay, so conjunctiva. You might have heard about a viral infection that is affecting the eye, which is known as conjunctivitis. So it is actually this layer that is being affected by the virus. So at that time what happens is that the front part of the eye will turn red. So that is an infection that usually occurs to the eye. Conjunctivitis. So conjunctiva, it is a thin membranous covering that is present in front part of the eye. Now coming to the structure of the eyeball. The eyeball is actually having three parts. The outer layer is known as the sclerotic layer, otherwise sclera. The middle region is known as the choroid layer. And the innermost layer is known as the retina. So the eyeball, it is having three layers. The outermost layer is called as the sclerotic layer, otherwise sclera. The middle layer is called as the choroid layer. And the innermost layer is known as retina. Now let us see about the sclerotic layer. Okay, so this is the sclerotic layer which you can see, which is drawn in blue color. Okay, the outermost layer of the eye. The sclerotic layer is actually tough fibrous layer which is white in color. But when it comes to the front part of the eye, it becomes transparent. And then it is what is called as cornea. So this front portion, it is known as cornea. So this is the same sclerotic layer. So what is the speciality of sclerotic layer? It is actually a tough white fibrous layer. When it comes to the front portion of the eye, it becomes transparent and is what is known as the cornea. You might have heard about cornea transplantation. Okay, so that is cornea. Now coming to the middle layer called as the choroid layer, which I have shown with green color. Okay, so this is the choroid layer, which you can see in green color. The choroid layer is actually richly supplied with blood vessels. This is for providing nourishment to the eye. At the same time, this choroid layer is containing melanin pigment. What is the function of melanin pigment in the choroid layer? It actually prevents the reflecting and scattering of the light rays that can take place within the eye. Okay, that is the function of melanin pigment. Now you can see that the choroid layer is actually expanded to form a ciliary body. Okay, this is the ciliary body. It is expanded to form a ciliary body. I am writing here with the same colored pen. The ciliary body is actually containing circular muscles which can actually alter the shape of this lens. Now you can see that there is one more extension. Okay, that is this portion. This is also another extension of the same choroid layer. I am shading this. Okay, this extension is what is called as iris. The iris is actually leaving a small circular opening in the center. This circular opening that you can see in the center is what is called as pupil. So this iris, the speciality of iris is that It contains both radial as well as circular muscles. The radial muscles will be widening. Okay, and circular muscles will help to constrict the pupil. Okay, so depending on this radial muscles and the circular muscles, the size of the pupil can be regulated. The radial muscles will be helping in widening the size of the pupil, whereas the circular muscles that are present in the iris will help in constricting. So what is the function of pupil? The pupil actually helps in regulating the amount of light that can enter inside the eye. I hope this much is clear to everyone. Okay, so outer is a sclerotic layer, which is actually a white fibrous layer. It is also tough. When it comes to the front portion, it is becoming transparent and it is called as cornea. The middle layer is called as the choroid layer, which is richly supplied with blood vessels. It also contains melanin pigment, which prevents the reflection and scattering of light rays that can take place within the eye. Okay, it is the choroid layer that is expanding to form the ciliary body. Further, you can see one more expansion of the same choroid layer, which is called as iris. The iris is leaving a small opening in the center, which is known as pupil. So it is the pupil that will be regulating the amount of light that will be entering into the eye. Now here you can see, which is marked with the red, that is the suspensory ligament. Okay. So the suspensory ligament and the ciliary body together will be holding the transparent biconvex lens in position. So I am writing the lens here itself. I hope you can see. Okay. Now there is a space that is present in front of the lens. I am shading it with red. Okay. So this is what is known as aqueous chamber. Okay, I am marking it here. Aqueous chamber. Here you can see a large chamber at the back, which is what is known as vitreous chamber. Now this aqueous chamber, it is actually filled with a watery fluid. What is the name of that watery fluid? It is known as aqueous humor. Okay, so what is this aqueous humor? Aqueous humor is actually a watery fluid that is filled in the aqueous chamber. Okay, aqueous chamber is the space that is present in front of the lens. It is filled with a watery fluid. So what is the function of aqueous humor? It keeps the lens moist and also it refracts light. Okay, this question can come for the board exam. Another is this big chamber that you can see behind this lens. What is that chamber called as? Already it is written here, vitreous chamber. This vitreous chamber is filled with a jelly-like substance. What is that jelly-like substance called as? The jelly-like substance is known as vitreous humor. Okay. So, what is the use of this vitreous humor? It is this vitreous humor, which is a jelly-like substance that actually maintains the shape of the eyeball. Not only that, it will be protecting the nerve endings. So that is the function of vitreous humor. Now moving to the third layer, the innermost layer. The innermost layer is known as retina, which again I have shown with red colored pen. Okay, so this is the innermost layer. It is actually consisting of sense cells known as the rods and the cones. So sensory cells are present called as rods and cones. The difference between rods and cones can come for the board exam. What are the differences between rod cells and cone cells? Rod cells are more numerous. Cone cells are less numerous. That is one difference. Then, rods are sensitive to dim light. Cones are sensitive to bright light. Second difference. Then there is only one type of rod cell, whereas there are three types of cone cells. Then the most important difference is related to the pigment that is present. Rod cells contains a pigment called as rhodopsin. Cone cells contains a pigment called as iodopsin. Now, rods are located at the periphery of retina. Cones are mostly located at the center of the retina. Okay, so you can easily remember cones starting with C. So, where are the cone cells located? Cone cells are located at the center of the retina, whereas rod cells are located at the periphery of the retina. So, all these are the differences between rods and cones. Okay, again I will repeat. Rods, it contains a pigment called as rhodopsin. Cones contain a pigment called as iodopsin. Rods are sensitive to dim light. Cones are sensitive to bright light. Rods, they are more numerous. Cones, they are less numerous. Then, where are the rod cells located? Periphery of the retina. Cone cells, they are located at the center of the retina. Only one type of rod cell is there, but there are three types of cone cells. So, I told you 5 differences related to rods and cones. There is a spot here which is known as yellow spot. So the location of yellow spot is very important. Okay, so yellow spot, otherwise it is called as fovea centralis. Where is this yellow spot or fovea centralis located? The location usually comes for the board exam. So how will you write the answer? Yellow spot is located at the back, almost at the center, on the horizontal axis of the eyeball. Okay, if you are drawing one horizontal axis, it's almost lying on the horizontal axis of the eyeball. So I repeat, where is the location of yellow spot? Yellow spot is located at the back, almost at the center, on the horizontal axis of the eyeball. Now, yellow spot is having one more peculiarity. That also will come for the board exam. Yellow spot or fovea centralis is otherwise called as the area of best vision. So, why yellow spot is known as the area of best vision? What could be the reason for this? It is because this region contains the maximum number of sense cells, particularly the cones. Because of this, yellow spot is known as the area of best vision. Now, lateral to yellow spot, there is one more region which is present, which is known as the blind spot. So, where is the location of blind spot? So, blind spot is located lateral to yellow spot on the nasal side, Okay, that is the answer of blind spot. Now, blind spot is having a peculiarity. Just like this yellow spot is known as the area of best vision. Blind spot, the name itself is giving some idea. This blind spot is known as the area of no vision. Why it is known as the area of no vision? What could be the reason for this? It is because this particular region does not contain any sense cells. That means both rod cells and cone cells are totally absent. That is what is known as this area of no vision. Then, what is this actually? What is this blind spot? All the nerve fibers that are present or arising from the retina will be bundling together. And it is this particular region where all these nerve fibers will be bundling together so as to leave the eye in the form of the optic nerve. So we are dealing with the structure of the eyeball. I told you that it is having 3 layers. The outer sclerotic layer, the middle choroid layer and the innermost layer known as retina. Now associated with eye is one definition that can come for the exam, that is power of accommodation. What is the meaning of power of accommodation, or define power of accommodation? What is this? What is power of accommodation? It is the process of focusing of the eye to see the object at different distances clearly. This focusing process is what is called as the power of accommodation. If we want to look at a distant object, what is happening to the lens? The lens will become more flattened. If we are looking onto a nearby object, what happens? The lens will become rounded or it will become more convex. So this change that is taking place to the lens, that is actually to focus the objects clearly. This particular process is what is called as power of accommodation. I repeat, so what is power of accommodation? It is the process of focusing of the eye to see the objects that are placed at different distances. That is what is known as power of accommodation. Moving to the next topic related to the eye, that is light adaptation and dark adaptation. What is the difference between light adaptation and dark adaptation? So what is dark adaptation? Imagine that you are standing in a brightly lighted area. You are going to watch a movie. You are entering into a cinema hall. So when you are moving from a brightly lighted area into a dark room, immediately you won't be able to see anything for a few seconds. After which slowly your vision will be improving. This is what is called as dark adaptation. So why this is taking place? It is because the rhodopsin pigment will be regenerated. The rhodopsin is having one more name. Okay, it is also called as visual purple. Okay, otherwise called as rhodopsin. So the rhodopsin pigment, it will be regenerated. I told you rod cells are sensitive to dim light. So the rhodopsin pigment, or otherwise the so-called visual purple, will be regenerated. The pupil will be dilated. It is to allow more entry of light into the eye. Because of which after few seconds your vision will be actually improved. This is what is known as dark adaptation. Then what is light adaptation? The same example we can consider. After watching the movie, you are moving from this dark cinema hall into the brightly lighted area. So what will happen? For a few seconds, you will be having one dazzling effect. Why that is taking place? It is because the rhodopsin pigment or the visual purple, it will be getting bleached. Okay? At the same time, your pupil will be constricted because more light is entering, isn't it? So the pupil will be constricted. This is what is known as light adaptation. Let us recall structure of the eyeball. The wall of the eyeball is composed of three concentric layers: the outer sclerotic layer, the middle choroid layer, and the inner retina. The sclerotic layer is tough and fibrous. It is white in color. The choroid layer is richly supplied with blood vessels for providing nourishment to the eye. The choroid layer expands to form the ciliary body in the front of the eye, which contains circular muscles that can alter the shape of the lens. Another extension of the choroid, partially covering the lens, is the iris, which leaves a circular opening in the center, the pupil. The adjustment of the size of the pupil regulates the amount of light entering the eye. The retina or the innermost layer, it is sensitive to light. It contains two types of sense cells called rods and cones. Yellow spot or fovea centralis. Location: at the back of the eye, almost at the center on the horizontal axis of the eyeball. It is the area of best vision because this contains the maximum number of sensory cells, particularly the cones. Blind spot, the area of no vision. Location: lateral to the yellow spot on the nasal side. This is the point at which the nerve fibers from all the sensory cells of the retina converge and bundle together to leave the eyeball in the form of optic nerve. This is known as the point of no vision, as there are no sensory cells here. Aqueous chamber, located between the lens and the cornea, which is filled with a clear watery liquid called aqueous humor. Vitreous chamber, the larger cavity of the eyeball behind the lens, which is filled with a transparent jelly-like thicker fluid called vitreous humor. Functions: aqueous humor keeps the lens moist and refracts light. Vitreous humor functions: it helps in keeping the shape of the eyeball and protects the retina. What is accommodation? The process of focusing the eye to see objects at different distances is called accommodation. Please do subscribe to my channel Bio Digest. Like and share. Thank you.